Hey guys, running a few minutes late on this video today. Excuse my dress, we had a field trip today, but we are going to be looking at rounding whole numbers and then forms for numbers, all the different ways your kids are expected to write numbers in class. Thanks. Alright, so when rounding, it's really important that we use correct vocabulary so that the kids know what's going on. And your children already know how to round to the tens and to the hundreds, but in this next week we're moving up to rounding into the thousands, the hundred thousands, 10,000s with bigger numbers. The great thing with rounding with whole numbers is all the rules are the same, you're just changing the place where you're rounding. So I'm going to start with a small number first. Let's start with 384. We're going to round this to the nearest tens and the nearest hundreds. So first we're going to do to the nearest tens. Alright, there is an 8 in my tens place, the 4 is in the ones place, 8 is in the tens place, 3 is in the hundreds place. So the 8 in the tens place, I'm going to circle that because that's the place I'm rounding to, my nearest tens. I'm going to look to the digit to the right, it's a 4. So the rules when rounding is if it's 5 or more, you're going to round up. If it's 4 or less, you're going to round down. That's a 4, so we're going to round down. You and I didn't learn how to do it on a number line, so I'm going to show you how we learned, but the kids really find it beneficial to round on a number line because it gives them a visual. Okay, so like I said, the number to the right is 4, so we're going to round down. I keep the numbers before the circle, so a 3. I'm rounding down, so the 8 stays the same. And anything after the circled number with a whole number becomes a 0. So rounding 384 to the nearest tens is 380. If I wanted to show that on a number line, this gives a great visual. Alright, on my number line, if I was going to round down, my answer would have been 380. If I was going to round up, the answer would have been 390. Alright, in the middle, the number that comes in the middle is 385. Okay, so this would be 381, 382, 383, 384, 385, 386, 387, 388, 389. Alright, so we're going to mark where our number would be, 380, 381, 382, 383, and 384. Okay, so looking where my number is, make a big dot, you can see that if I went back, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm 4 from rounding down to 380. If I was rounding up, I would have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps. So I'm much closer to 380. So this gives them that visual of rounding down to 380. Alright, using the same number, rounding to the nearest hundreds place. Okay, 3 is in my hundreds place, so I'm going to circle where I'm rounding to. The 8 to the right tells me that I'm going to round up. When I round up, that means my circle digit is going to increase by 1. So 380 rounded to the nearest hundreds is going to be 400 because I add 1 to the circle number, and with whole numbers, the numbers to the right become 0. On a number line, and once the kids are good with number lines, we do a quicker version of the number line. Again, you're still going to put, if we rounded down, it would have been 300. If we rounded up, it would have been 400. And in the middle would have been 350. Once they're good with number lines, they don't have to make all those tally marks. Then we can just say, okay, well, my number is 384, so it's going to be somewhere around here. And they can easily see on that number line that we are closer to 400. I'm going to show you a bigger number. This is what we're getting ready to do in class. so with a bigger number, let's say I have 54,832. 54,832. Again, we've already done rounding to the tens and the hundreds, so I'm going to focus on rounding to the nearest thousands and the nearest 10,000s. The 4 is in my 10,000s. The 4, sorry, is in my thousands, not 10,000s. So I'm going to circle my 4. I'm rounding to the nearest thousands. Alright, I look at the number to the right, that's an 8. 5 or more, we're going to round up. 4 or less, we're going to round down. That 8 tells me I'm going to round up. I keep the numbers the same before the circle, so keep the 5. My circle digit, the number in the thousands place, increases by 1. So 4 plus 1 gives me 5. And because it's a whole number, everything after the circle digit becomes a 0. So my rounded answer to the nearest thousands would be 55,000. Alright, on a number line, if I was rounding down to the nearest thousand, it would have been 54,000. If I was rounding up on the number line, rounding up, it would be 55,000. And the number halfway in the middle is 54,500. Okay? Well, we can see that 54,832 is going to come after the halfway part, so it's closer to 55,000. If I wanted to round that same number, 54,832, to the nearest 10,000s, I'm going to circle the 5. We've got our ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and that 5 is our 10,000s. I look to the digit on the right. It's a 4. 4 or less, we round down. 5 or more, we would round up. It's a 4, so we're going to round down. So my 5 is not going to change. I keep the 5, and because it's a whole number, every digit after the circle digit where we're rounding to becomes a 0. So I put a 0 for my thousands, a 0 for the hundreds, 0 for the tens, and 0 for the ones place. So rounding to the nearest 10,000 would be 50,000. On a number line, if we rounded down, which we ended up doing, the answer would have been 50,000. But if we rounded up, the answer would have been 60,000. Okay? In the middle, we would have 55,000. And 54,000 falls just short, 54,832 of the halfway mark, so we're closer to 50,000. That's a short lesson on rounding, and we're also working on different forms for numbers. So I'm going to start with one number, and we're going to write it in different forms. Let's do 23,432. Okay, written just like that with the numerals, we would refer to this as standard form. When we just have the digits or the numerals written, we call that standard form. Another way that your kids have to write numbers is expanded form. And when you write an expanded form, you write the value of each digit. Okay? So we have a 2 in the 10,000s place. So that is worth 20,000 plus a 3 in the thousands place. That's the value of that is 3,000 plus a 4 in the hundreds place. The value of that is 400. All right. Plus a 3 in the tens place. The value of that is 30. Plus a 2 in the ones place, which has a value of 2. This, where we write the value of each digit, is called expanded form. The other way that your children are writing numbers is word form. And as we tell them in class all of the time, you write it exactly as you say it. And we remind the kids over and over that the only time "and" is used in numbers is if there's a decimal or a fraction for what we're working on right now. When it's just a whole number with no decimal, "and" is not used. So we read that number, 23,432. So we write it just as we read it. So 23,000. A comma goes just like it does in standard form, 23,432. And this is word form, where they're writing the words for the number, word form. These are the 3 forms that we're working on right now in class. It's standard form, where you write the number how we would normally see it using a calculator or something like that. Expanded form, where we're following the digits and writing the value of every digit, and then word form. And you always do word form exactly as you say it. All right, that is going to be all for today. I plan to do another video next week. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or message me on Dojo. Thank you so much.